Yeah, hello everyone. Today it's us again. My name is Pandor on cables, and this guy is Stimor. Steam?
Hey,
Or Stefan. What's your name on cables?
Steam,
Steam, okay.
at least in Discord.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Steam prepared or made like a little carnival costume with LED stripes, and we thought it's a nice project to show on the stream because it's not really a lot of soldering. It's the electronics super simple, and but all in all, it's quite a complicated project because like you have this website with cables, then you have this hardware, then you need to somehow get information from the patch to that hardware, and so it doesn't seem so complicated, but it is quite some components that you have to combine. So we thought it's a good thing to show on the stream how Stefan did it. And yeah, if you have any questions anytime, ask us anything. We will provide the links to all the components to the open source software Stefan used. And if you have any questions, then ask us. Yeah, I think that's it, right, Stefan? So
Yeah,
I give
absolutely.
it to you. I hand it to you,
Sure.
and yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for the introduction. The whole project started during Carnival, which is a season in Cologne where everybody dresses up, and I wanted to do something with electronics. And the whole idea was to basically create parts of my costume that are blinking and can be controlled by people basically in the pub. And I found some nice software around there, and later on I sat down and made this be controllable with cables. The product of the whole thing is basically this, it's like a hat that has like 300 LEDs around it and can be controlled by, say, an app via your mobile phone, or as we will soon see, it can also be controlled in cables. You will see this um, here. Um,
Can you
basically,
make it big, the image?
sure.
Ah,
Uh,
sorry.
um, Well, basically what we have here is like a really simple cables patch that has a rotating cube with changing colors, and as you can see, the hat. I hope you see this. Um,
Can you make that bigger, maybe?
yeah, that will make us bigger, but I guess
Yeah,
that
that's fine.
that will work. Yep. Something like this, maybe.
I thought you had a different window. Okay, yeah, that's fine. And there's no cable connected to the head now, right?
Well, you have a cable connected that is a USB cable that gives it power, but the general like the whole setup would be to use like a power bank. This like a 30,000 micro ampere power bank goes for I don't know 30-40 euros, was the most expensive part of this whole costume. And this lasts this thing for like 10 or 12 hours or something like this. So this is wireless, and the microcomputer that I bought also comes with like Wi-Fi chip and everything. So if you have like power somewhere, that will work without cables, without these cables.
And and then you had the battery on your head, or where did you have it, or in a
Oh,
pocket,
in my
or
pocket
oh, yeah.
basically, and like shitloads of replacement batteries, but those were actually never needed. So yeah, that worked really well. Under the hat is like a bit heavy for these things. They actually weigh a bit. If you have
Yeah,
this on your head all the time, it's quite annoying. I'd say.
yeah, yeah.
So again, as you can see, like we have this cables patch that I built, and the hat basically synchronizes with the color of the cube that we have, and we can also then um, well basically control single LEDs of these by using an API that this software gave me. What I did for my costume was basically look around the internet and see what there is for controlling LEDs, and I came across this cool page. I think Pando may also be yeah, sharing the link in the chat then. Um, this one guy that built a lamp basically. and I got a few ideas off of him. Mainly like, okay, use an ESP 8266, which also is called a nodemcu.
And this is basically like something like an Arduino, but already with Wi-Fi and all this kind of stuff,
Yes,
right?
right. This whole thing is like this big, looks like this. I also have a picture of that. Um, we'll show it later on. Really tiny thing. Um, it's like I actually ordered too many of them on Amazon because I thought, okay, 30 euros, that's a decent price. That was 10 of them. So these are like really cheap and really available. Lots of open source firmware stuff for special purposes on the internet. And what I also got from there is this WS2812B, which is basically a standard of lots of stuff for LED. For example, these LED strip is like one with 300 LEDs, and we later will be working on with that one, which is 60 LEDs. But you also get like panels of them, also like really cheap. I got in the end, my costume was like laced with LEDs on arms and legs, and the hat with like, I don't know, it was around 700 or 800 LEDs, and all in all I paid like, I don't know, 40 euros for all of these LEDs. So ESP 8266 is the microcomputer that we are using, and these WS 812B are different kinds, a different standard of LED strips. Yeah, this also links to Amazon links. I actually went from there and picked everything. And this guy has like a really nice starting tutorial to get working with this WLED, which will is the software that we'll be using. That actually is made by a guy that is really enthusiastic for this Christmas lights that you have in the USA. So he built this software to have like his whole house illuminated by LEDs and control this. It's a binary, it's a firmware that you flash. We will do this in a bit. That you flash on the machine, opens a wireless hotspot, you change the wireless hotspot, and it already gives you access via uh, an access point, an app, and you have like shitloads of effects already in there. So that was basically where I was going on Carnival, and then came the idea on like, okay, this thing has an API, maybe we can do something with that in cables. So that's the basic setup. It's going to be a bit of flashing and stuff, but I really want to spare you all the boring parts on soldering and stuff like that, as you see in the picture, and also you can see here, and also on the website. That's like 3 points where you have to solder, so it's like really easy. There's no resistors in there or anything. So that is like super easy. I think basically everyone should be able to do this. And once you got this,
And
yeah,
this
sure.
is how you can. Maybe I'm too early, but so this is how you connect the LED strip, and the power is all over USB, right? Or
Yes,
that's
right.
all then.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's absolutely all. It also like really depends because this is then electronics, but it really depends how much your power bank outputs, and then you have basically a um, limited amount of LEDs that you can power with that one connection. That actually led me to having two power banks to power 800 LEDs. I think one power bank should be like USB standard should be able to power something like 4 to 500 LEDs or something like this.
Wow.
Uh,
That's quite a lot, I think. Yeah.
yeah, I also was like super impressed. And they actually say something like, it's better go for 100. But these power banks usually output a lot more than USB standard allows you to do. So you actually have to try out. We will see how we can work with that in that one software as well. So what we then have to do is, if you want to really start over, we pick this thing that I already soldered and gave
Think.
it.
Yeah. Did we? Yeah. Okay.
It's the one in the picture that that's there. Um, you want a link to the nodemcu thing?
No, I think like we already screwed up our order, but whatever, it doesn't matter
Like
anyhow.
correct me.
No, I thought we were going into the patch
Right.
before.
Yeah, we can do this now. Okay, so to right now show you how the whole setup works. So we have this hat with like 300 LEDs. That's one strip. Inside of the hat, we have this microcontroller, microcomputer thing that is connected via USB just to get power right now. The microcontroller is connected to my wireless network, and then I'm using this cables patch to send requests to the
You
hat.
still have the overlay on with the photo,
Oh,
by the
I'm
way.
sorry. Yeah, thank you. So I'm using this patch to basically do nothing else than send simple HTTP requests to my hat. This is a funny sentence, but that is what we actually be doing. And to make this work with cables on the internet, and as Tom said in the introduction, it's a bit tricky because you basically have to completely circumvent all the security that the browser gives you. Like you must not do cross-origin requests, and you must not do HTTP requests in an HTTPS session and stuff like that. So we just came up with a general thing that might also be interesting in other use cases whenever you have problems with web security. Um, we made an often mentioned thing that is called the Playa, which basically gives you the ability to run cables patches in a different app, in a standalone app that basically is just a browser, and you won't have all the security restrictions in there.
So this is also if you want to run cables patches as an executable, like offline, or give an executable somebody, then you can use the player to just run it outside of a browser without a browser, and just run it without needing any Chrome or going to a URL or something like this. This is a handy tool that we use for this.
And as you can see, and also how the player works, maybe a short X course in that direction. So this is actually that one patch. I imported that, and I can now work with that. For example, I can just like completely disable this one. I save in cables. I go back to the player. I reload in the player, and well, the cube is gone. This is what we're gonna be doing all the time, just using the player to basically circumvent web security stuff.
Yeah, so maybe we show the dev tools to show what is happening in the browser. So maybe it's a bit clearer. So the hardware Stefan is trying to access is
Yeah.
in his local Wi-Fi. So it has only a local IP address. It's not in the internet. It's not a device that's on the internet. You could do this way also. Like if you have like an internet IP address or address for this device, then you could access it directly. But right now it's only in this local thing, and the browser forbids actually to access local stuff from the cables GL domain. So this is just something that's there. Usually this is for your security, but in this case it's really annoying. So what you see there is it cannot access this address there. Where's the address actually?
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
just a but you can see here it's like 192.168.10
yeah.
15. It's a local address.
So it's trying to access this address, but the browser is just blocking it. So what we do is we just create the patch, and then we test it in Electron in the exec, because there's no security check. You can just access everything with this access. So just keep this in mind. And maybe we show the website of the player or something quickly.
Yeah, sure. In not my standard browser cables. The Playa, that should be a decent Google search. Yes. Um, this is one of the ecosystem softwares that we build, and actually you just go to releases, and then download the latest release that exists for macOS, for Linux, and for Windows, and then you can start it from there. We'll welcome you and say, okay, press Control N, I think, to import a patch. Description is also in the README here, and then you import your patch and you can go from there. And as we will do work on and off with that, and but everything you have in the player is also portable. You can put it on a USB stick. You can take it to a museum, to a club where you don't have internet, and then work with that.
Yeah, cool.
So closing this one can also be closed, I guess. So again, if we see here, if we go to flow mode, we see what we're actually doing. We're like, the easiest thing is we're constructing a URL that goes to the API of this software, and then we're triggering that AJAX request every now and then to not have a 50 frames per second HTTP request to this poor thing. We'll come back to this to the setup later on, but right now I want to show you how to basically, once you bought and soldered this thing, how to go into working with that one software, WLED. So I'm doing this, I think. Okay, this is gonna be really funny, but okay, what we have is this pre-soldered thing, and this is all really well described on this webpage. Basically, this goes for OS X, for macOS. I'm on Linux, so things are a bit different, but in general, I just downloaded the release from here. Took the corresponding one. Explanation also says so, and yeah, I just downloaded this, and then we go to my terminal and change into the projects, others, LED strips, ESP tool, and this now should be able to flash this to the first device that I have connected via USB. And this completely deletes the software on that device, and now reflashes the whole new firmware onto this thing. Takes a bit, but afterwards, sorry.
Yeah. So this thing is like a computer that can basically just run one program that is installed, right? So there's only one thing on there.
Yes, I'm actually using these kind of microcomputers for different things in my in my home automation setups. For example, from watering my plants, and then you can get a really common firmware for it, and use I think Lua to actually run scripts on that
Okay.
on your own. So you can basically pick a basic firmware and then work from there. So we're done flashing. And this now means that I think you won't be able to see this because it's on my first screen. Now I can join the wireless network that this one thing just created. I hope this doesn't fuck up this whole stream thing, but I tested this yesterday. So we're connecting to the new wireless network that this thing created, which I'm not connected to right now. Wait a second.
So why I thought this connects to your home
Yeah,
Wi-Fi system.
we're almost there. Okay, I'm connected to the default, well, basically the default setup thing, and this has the nice IP address of 4321. Um, and now we're being greeted with this setup. I'm in this hotspot right now.
Okay.
So now I'm connecting to Wi-Fi. Now I say, okay, my network is called Beat, and my network password is something like,
So this is now you're telling this device connect to my home Wi-Fi,
yes.
right? Okay.
And this is all I have to do. And it also is so nice to create this access point whenever it is not able to connect to the one access point. So you're basically really fail-safe with this. So I can now click on Save and Connect, and this so it now disconnects. It closes its own wireless thing, and then hopefully connects to my. That looks good actually. And now you can look into your router or something like this, but I'm pretty sure that it gave itself got this should be the new IP address of this thing. So this now is an IP address of my local network, and I'm connected to this whole thing. And as you can see, it has like shitloads of stuff where it gives effects and stuff like that, but we don't have anything connected to it right now that could do these effects. So we bought these. That's a 60 LED strip.
So does the software know what is connected or something? Or
No. Well, it basically just powers these GPIO things, right? And this connector that is soldered to this is a standard connector for LEDs. And once you connect it, you're there with your default color scheme. What we also can see is that it somewhere ends here, so it doesn't really color all of the LEDs, right? This is because we have to set the number of LEDs that we're actually having on our strip. So if we set this to 60, we will see that now we're all done and everything is fine and dandy. And we also see that we're already in this app are able to like change colors and go from there. So if everything you want is like make your house suitable for Christmas in the USA, I think that's where you go, because they have like shitloads of effects that you can use, and that was then the whole joke of my costume and Carnival. People running around doing this on their mobile phones and deciding which effects are on my hat, basically. So that's the whole setup, and we now have this thing running in my network. I'm putting this up again. We have this thing running in my whole network. That's the IP address of it, and we copy this, and that was my whole setup for Carnival, basically. So no cables in there, but then I found this page, which maybe Pandor can also post. Hey, this thing has a really simple HTTP request API. And actually, to make it more interesting for more hardcore users, it says here that it also does output DMX if you need this, and it also does MQTT, which I actually tried to do, which also works super nice, but I really didn't want to do today because it needs an MQTT broker, and that would be just another part of a software stack. But this seems to be really, really powerful. Especially for doing the effects that we just saw. This is a bit really, really, really basic, but we see where we get with that. So if we now go back to our patch and see what we were doing with that one, we see, okay, this is a different IP address that we had. That is because that's the IP address of my hat. Also funny sentence. And We now have a different IP address, which is 45, 145. And so if we save this here, and then we have to do this one thing and work with the player, then we can see that now this strip is reacting to the colors of the patch.
Already.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So this is like the basic setup of all of it, and since we're doing it in the player, we could like do, I don't know, basically anything that that Cables allows us to do with colors, and then send them over here. So let's look into this a bit more, because this is basically the main idea of the whole thing is to construct a URL that corresponds to this request API. And this says, okay, you can do RGB, and it's called, yeah, you can do RGB, and brightness is the name for alpha, so you can do RGBA values and a lot of stuff more. And we later on might be interested in doing something like, where is it? Segments, where we can say, okay, this is we have like 3 segments where the first LED is 1 and the second is 10 or something like that, to make for 6 segments. For the software itself, this is like basically a line of LEDs. This is 0, 1. So whenever we do something with it, we just basically have to address every LED by its number. So if we look into this again, we're still doing constructing our URL that corresponds to the API, and then we set the alpha to 128 and the effect to 0, and then we set RGB values depending on the color of the cube right here. And this then, again, we're limiting a bit to, I think, once every 2 seconds, and then send this over to yeah, basically where it belongs, and this changes the color. Are people still following me, Tom? Are you still following me?
Yeah, sorry. Why are you using Ajax request string? And we need a new version with a new string type, right?
Yeah.
But why?
First of all, it occurred to me yesterday that the Ajax request op parses the request as JSON. It will work, is no problem here, but it will always continuously give errors because the response for the request isn't JSON.
Okay.
And Ajax request string, which are also like really weirdly named actually, does nothing but a GET request, and I don't care about what comes out of it.
Yeah. So for people that are not like web programmers, Ajax request is just a really confusing name for basically Cables opens a ASCII file on a server, basically, or you can just open any URL with it, and that returns a string or a JSON object, and then you can read stuff from it back. So normally you do this because you want some information from the server, actually. But in this case, the server doesn't really give us any information. We just want to tell the server, make the color blue or something. Usually it's the other way around. Usually you want something from the server and he sends back like a list of users or database results or whatever. But in this case, we're just telling, change the color. And this URL that Stefan builds there, this is basically what we showed, the API documentation. This tells you like the parameter R is for the color red or something like this. And then he builds this URL together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, if there are any questions, if we are too fast or like if it's not common knowledge because we are those web guys, then please ask us. And then we go more into detail.
I'll just give it like 10 seconds.
Yeah. And can you show the whole URL, like the final? Can you click the inspect button?
Sure. I mean, it would be this, right? Where do we get this?
I clicked the concat multi, so or there, and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this would be the complete URL that we're building. Maybe also for people not super web developers or known to HTTP. This basically says like, okay, please send. There's a machine listening at this IP address, the 192.168.10.145, and it listens to requests on in this style. And as we can see here, we're setting like these are parameters that are separated by this ampersand. And right now we're setting red to 255 and green to 121 and blue to 0. And if we change this, then we change the colors. We can do
And
this actually.
what does A mean, or FX? I guess it's effect 0 is just display one color or something.
Yes. Right. If we go here again, I could pick like this has effects, and all these effects have like base colors that basically change how the effects look, and FX0 means solid color,
Mm-hmm.
and the A is the alpha value actually. So the brightness.
Then the strip gets transparent.
Yes.
Okay, it's the brightness. Understand? Yeah.
So what we could do now to maybe have a really simple thing is like basically get rid of all of this cube stuff, and what we could do is do a sidebar and give the sidebar a color picker. And there we go with the RGB, and now we only need these a lot of string conversions. Oh no, this is a number. I'm sorry.
Number to string. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. What? So this then, that's a good idea. Goes here on red, and copying this. And now we just disconnect these variables that came from the cube and put in these numbers into the appropriate ports, which are 3, 5, and 7. So that should give us a new string. We don't.
Yeah, but you need to convert it to bytes.
I have to multiply, right?
Yeah, and probably round or something. Later. Yeah.
Later?
Multiply. Yeah. So in cables, usually
I can just map ranges.
just multiply it by 255.
Yeah. Maybe explain why we're doing this?
Yeah, in cables, we most of the time work with values between 0 and 1, and many other platforms work with values from 0 to 255. So we need to convert this to that the range of the values is from 0 to 255. And actually, why we are not using this is because this, like, if you have colors between 0 and 255, you're always, and in for all future times, you're bound to like an 8-bit color value. So between 0 and 1, there can be like infinite amount of numbers. So it's the more future-proof way to store color values, I would say. So this is why in cables it's differently stored, basically.
Yeah, so we should be fine here now. We double check this. We have what looks like some values for RGB. That seems to be okay. What we will see now if we go to flow mode, the string is still being triggered eventually. No, it's not. Why isn't it? Doesn't really matter. We don't need this
Yeah, it's
anymore.
not changing. So if you change the color, it should change, right?
Then it's okay. I wanted to do exactly this, namely, we can like we don't have to do this actually, right?
Yeah, right.
That's one of the weird patches where we don't have a main loop. So we give this a clear color and then put the RGB things in there, right?
Ah, yeah, okay, cool.
It happens more often than we thought. Wasn't it on your last stream also that you had like no main loop?
For the HTML ops, right?
Yeah. So we now have this, right? And we can pick any color right here. And then we get displayed the color. That in itself is not really super interesting, but if I'm correct, this then triggers the request. And this request, as we remember, goes to this microcomputer thing. So why doesn't it change right now? Right, because we still have that networking shit going on with the browser security, which is why we have to go to the Playa and reload the patch in the Playa. And now, maybe, hopefully, we can change color of this whole thing in here, and that works. So
Nice.
so now we can basically do anything we want. Whatever gives us anything that we can put into a number, we can use. Any ideas? So yesterday when testing this, I made like a running light. That was a bit more work because we have to work with segments and stuff. We could also put this to music, for example. If we take a SoundCloud file and then somehow get the, I don't know, the audio analyzer to give us brightness, then we could change the alpha value. Would that actually work?
Yeah, should. There's an average volume thing that you could use.
I'm more interested in whether or not the audio player works with the stream then. We'll see. Any suggestion for SoundCloud?
No, I'm totally not prepared.
I don't know. Know anyone?
Use Ronnie as always.
What's his name? Ronnie Pries? Do you have his SoundCloud link, by the way?
No.
What about Dipswitch? Why not use this?
Yeah.
Greetings to DivSwitch. I hope this is fine fine for you. So we put in the SoundCloud URL. That seems to work. Nice. And now we need a play button, right? And we need an audio player.
Yeah, just look the example for the SoundCloud up. It should be copy pastable.
Yeah, I did this yesterday, so I think I still have it in my head. No, I don't. So looking at the example page, there was like something like this. That's a good way to actually try out whether the music is on stream. Seems to be, right?
I don't know. Yeah, yeah, it is.
That's also really loud. What? Okay. So we get SoundCloud, we need the string neutral to all, we put it into audio player, we put it into audio output. Okay, great, there we are. I have to put this back up again so that you guys can hear Tom Pandur. This then goes in here and that goes in here, right? Fire. And that setting the volume to something really low, 0.2. Okay, now I'm not hearing anything. Ah, right. Is it this? Is it
Yeah.
renamed?
No, that's it.
Ah, okay.
But
Is this okay? 0.5? So now you have to tell me how to get like a decent value out of it to put into alpha or something like this.
is it playing now? I cannot hear. You know, I don't hear the music in our conversation. You know, so I don't know actually. But yeah, you can use the audio analyzer op. Yeah, and this gives you
the average volume, right?
yeah, and this
is not changing. So it needs to be triggered.
Yeah.
Okay. And this seems to be between
0 and 1.
Yeah, I just have the volume at a really low 0.025 something.
It doesn't matter.
Oh really? Okay, so I...
no, probably you're right. Yeah, you can set the volume in the output, then it doesn't matter. Yeah. You know?
Yep. 0.025. And then that goes to 1. And now this should give us values between... Yeah, that looks a lot better. And then we have to check the API, and this one's for once the master brightness goes from 02
I
to
think you have to make it a bit louder.
sure. Right here. So then let's try this.
Yeah, that's okay.
Um,
It's really hectic music, so probably.
yeah, that's right. Any suggestions are really welcome.
No, just try it out. Let's see how it works.
So we map range this from 1 to 0 and 255, right?
Yeah.
Does this have like okay this let's try putting this in here first. That doesn't do anything for the okay, that doesn't make any
Probably
sense.
not. Yeah.
So then we get a number out that is something like this. Okay, now we run into the same problem again. That we need a trigger limiter. Okay, right. To explain, if I now put this one, this needs a number to string. If I put it up there, it would trigger this request basically every frame, and that is too many requests for for the browser and also like for this machine to handle. So we're using this number to string that goes up here into, I hope, this one. If this ends with now we have to change this. This looks better, and then look at the result. That looks okay. And now I have to play again. How do I reset? Need to reset the play. I can also loop it, but resetting the play button on.
That doesn't do anything. That doesn't work.
Yes, it works. Why wouldn't it?
Because it's just setting this to true always, right? But
this is a reset trigger, so it basically just resetting the play button so I can hit play again for the audio player. So right now we have like what we saw, too many requests, like shitloads of requests. So we have to limit this somehow, and we do this by getting a trigger limiter.
But show the strip. Is it playing now, or what?
No, we have to export it to the player first. You want me to do this right now?
I mean, if you limit it, yeah, I don't know.
I think this will break, actually. Well, let's try this.
Yeah, but how much do you want to limit it? I mean, if you want to visualize the music, you have to trigger the URL all the time, so you have a nice animation, right?
Yeah, okay, then let's check this. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we're now playing this in this doesn't really change. Maybe the alpha is just like a stupid value.
Is the it's super hard for me to follow because I don't hear. So is this playing music? The
Yes.
the other patch?
I actually have to mute this because right now both of them. Yeah, this is playing music.
Okay.
and this is now supposedly changing the brightness. But I guess let's try the limiting. I'd limit. What I do is like a trigger limiter, and then limit this to something like, I don't know, 200, maybe even 200 milliseconds, and then get a trigger string, and then put this in here, and this goes here, which then in flow mode, yeah, we see that we have like a lot less requests.
Yeah, but then you have 5 per second. That's not really an animation, but yeah.
It changes something, but I really don't think. Wait a second, I'm sorry. Maybe that wasn't the best idea to start with like sound visualization, but
can you change the alpha, the A value by hand? Does it make any difference? So you are setting? No.
Right now I'm setting the green value. I'm trying this again. Maybe that's more visible. Why? I'm sorry.
But just now it should be dark, right? When it's 0.
Yes, yeah.
Are you sure the parameter's A?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So let's try this. Simply, as explained before, it's just like a normal HTTP request, so you can do this in your browser. So if we put this to foo55 and send this, then that happens. And then to test it, if we do this to 10 maybe, well, this changes, but I guess the ranges are like, it doesn't really change too much. So let's try something else. So we put this to 255. And then we connected this number to B. Where's the player? I have to reload this. Yeah, you're right, it's not really an animation, I'm just changing the blue value, and I guess it's not even really visible on stream, but it kind of changes blue value.
Yeah, okay. But what rate can it handle? Like 20? Like, can you?
I don't know, let's try. 20?
At 20 is nearly 60 FPS, then maybe 50 or something.
We need something more visible, actually. Yeah, this seems to kind of work. At least from the request thing. Wouldn't, like...
I don't see anything.
Yeah, that's... Yeah, the problem is, like... how do we get something more visible out of it? Like, actual real color change? Do we, like... We take this map range and then multiply it by different random values, basically?
Just put the output to the multiplier of the color on top.
Sorry?
The output of the map range,
Yeah.
just connect it to the multiplier below to the RGB multiplier on top.
These?
Yeah.
For all of them?
Just try one.
Okay. But then the... Ah, yeah, right. Okay, I get what you're going.
But is it playing now? Why don't we see anything?
This might be not playing right now. Wait a second. I'll put this on loop. Ah, I disconnected this. I'm stupid.
Ah. But we should see the green color flashing, right? The background color. I think
This
there's
one? No,
no.
this goes in here. I
think it's not using... Ah, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, okay. This like really not that visible on stream. I'm really sorry. So maybe ditch the audio idea.
Someone suggested maybe a white moving dot.
Why moving dot? Yeah, sure. Okay, let's.
So can you address? So you said you can address like 1 pixel of it or something.
Yes. That would basically mean. Wait a second. Yeah, that would basically mean that we have to do some dirty work with another concat multi to get more parameters into this URL. But if we look at the API, we can address segments, so-called, and basically this is segment start and segment stop.
So what is a segment? You define the length of a segment somehow?
Yes.
Or? Ah, okay.
And this basically means if we want segment stop was S2.
So wait a second. Let's do this slowly. So what
Sure.
are you looking there? So
Okay.
So a segment is something like from pixel 10 to pixel 20, I guess, right?
Right. Yeah. And an individual LED would be something like from 0 to, or from 1 to 2. Then we'd have like the first LED in this strip, which would be exactly this one.
Okay.
And then we can set the color. Then these colors, yeah, would then be set for the segment. So if we do something like now, I have this. This is all fine because we set the global color and that works. But
so this is basically the background color then, or
yeah.
Okay.
And then we address the first thing with this basically. That would be the first LED. And if this still works with the color picker, as we're going step by step, that should then be something bluish, right? RGB, yeah, it looks okay. So if we then update this in the player, that should address only the first what?
So what you're setting, don't you have to set like 2 colors now?
No, the other colors would be black then. Wait a second. Let me quickly read up on this. I'm sorry. Ah. Something's not right with the URL. Ah, this has to be S2. I'm sorry. So yeah, as you can see here right now, we don't have a background color as you suggested. We're just setting that one LED to that color, right?
Yeah.
So if we now get for example
Sign anim maybe.
yeah, it's a good idea. Sign this one? No.
Anim. Yeah, the second. Sorry, it's super delayed for
Yeah,
me.
yeah, sure. Then we do this, and then we get a number out, and that we need to have an integer. We need to map range this.
So right now this is from -1 to 1, and we want like what? How many pixels do we have? 60 or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we go from -1 to 1, from 1 to 60, right? And we want an integer. Can we put this here? No.
No.
So we make this an integer. And
floor.
Okay.
This also works. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, why not? So okay, we floor this, and then we get integers out of it. This now means we have this animation, and now we need 2 numbers basically, since we always need like the start and the end of the segment. We take this one again, number to string. This then goes into the start. That was, let me check. That would be 2, and the other one would be 4. So this goes into port 2, and then we take the same number and add a sum, of course.
And this is then basically the width of the segment then. Yeah.
No, it's the second. Yeah, that like the difference between that is the width of the segment, right? Number to string, and then that goes in there. 4, I said. Let's look at the URL again. So this is always like off by 1. This looks fine, so that might actually do something. Let's see. Okay, yeah. What we can see is it's being a bit slow, I guess. So the
Yeah,
sign
that's the
animation.
trigger limiter, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Let's try the limits of the trigger limiter and put this. Okay, this is not 50 anyhow, is it? Let's.
Oh, this is slow.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Can I change the
Oh,
speed?
this is slower.
Yeah, this looks better though somehow. So now we have like this thing
Okay, cool.
rotating. It's not white, but it's like a moving thing. And it really actually looks like a sine anime. It slows down and speeds up.
Can you hold it higher?
Yeah, sure.
It's not visible. Yeah, cool. And now if you change the number 2 of the sum, then you change the width of the pixel, right?
Yeah, that would mean, yeah, absolutely. So if I go here and change this sum to 2, save this, reload the player, then that would be 2 pixels, right?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and so this way, if we do, and this already goes back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the sine anime, of course. Um,
Yeah, if you use the modulo, then you can basically have like it's entering in the beginning when it's out of the end. But yeah, that's cool. It's great.
so that way we could start creating all of the effects that these guys have. I would actually suggest if we do something really serious with that, not using the HTTP API because that seemingly is slow. If we use something like MQTT or WebSockets or DMX or whatever, that would work a lot better.
Yeah, I want to create an image with an image compose and send like all the pixel values over, but yeah, it's a bandwidth problem. But yeah, maybe it can be done with MQTT. Yeah, if it's that cheap, I will also order it just for fun and play around with it, and maybe we can optimize it.
Yeah, as said, like the nodemcu things, I have like 8 of them lying around.
Ah,
So,
okay.
so if I'm ever allowed to go to Berlin again, I will just bring some.
Yeah,
Uh,
or send me one. I think we have LED strips in the studio.
right, okay. Yeah, and
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, yeah.
So you were suggesting doing, would that work with that setup? You were suggesting yesterday that we use a texture to color array, but that is like really nasty with the HTTP request, I think.
Yeah. So I really wish this software had WebSockets
Yeah.
because then we could send way faster data way faster, or like actually for like 60 LEDs, look, you can. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
they
I'm not
also
sure.
like really looked into this. They actually, apart from this HTTP request API, they have a JSON API, which I also didn't want to do today. But this way you can send, well, basically all of the LEDs at once, like the whole state. But
Sorry, where? What?
um, yeah, on the webpage, I think you're delayed by the Twitch stream. They have a JSON API
Ah,
for WLED, which then you can basically send an array of all the segments you have, like basically every LED at once. That would massively limit the amount of requests, but also I tried this yesterday, and it's a lot of really, really weird data mangling to get to
mm,
that point, basically.
yeah, yeah. So there's this NeoPixel device. Do you know this?
No,
And Bagoof and me, so this is like an LED matrix thing, and
Ah,
we managed to feed this with a texture, but then you have to be connected directly to the device, like your computer. So there's always a
okay.
trade-off with every solution. But I think this is awesome because you can just put it on the internet and tell people like connect to my Wi-Fi and change the colors, which is
Yeah,
like you don't need a physical cable connection to any device or something. Like you can just put it somewhere and people accesses, which is really a wonderful thing. And yeah,
yeah, I also think like it has a lot of drawbacks. Like I don't really like mangling around with like strings and URLs, but this is like super easy, super convenient. I mean, we didn't do anything in like what is it now, 1.5 hour, but like downloading the software, flashing it onto it, and then we were ready to go. And this is like super nice.
yeah, can put it on your Christmas tree.
Absolutely.
Make it an open Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And what kind of effects do they have? Like blinking and
Okay,
stuff like this, I guess.
wait a second. So then I have to, I think I will just shut this down. So I just shut the player down and going back to this one, right? Um, and well, basically there you can select from, I don't know, basically all the effects. Um,
Is there a Knight Rider effect? We actually did the Knight Rider with the
yeah,
in blue.
absolutely. Um, I'm actually wondering whether or not we just confused this poor thing with um the segments? Ah, yeah, maybe that's it. Like we created segments? No. Okay, let me just restart this one.
If you try turning it off and on again,
Okay, now we have all the LEDs back again, obviously. Apparently. This should also be back. Okay. Well, the effects, I mean,
yeah, just click some. I don't know.
so this we basically kind of did right now. Then they have like funky shit like this. This is really nice, actually.
And can you then modify like? Okay, I have to try this myself.
Yeah, you can absolutely do it. I mean, you can create segments and then give different segments different effects. So you can
Ah,
like
okay.
do and yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
that was my question. Like, can you like say like I want this blink effect, but in blue and only in the first segment or something like this, right?
yeah
Okay, I
that
understand
yeah
now.
that would be something like this. Let's take circus, and this is what we have with the primary colors. So you pick a different color palette, um, and
And you
then
had like 400 LEDs connected to one controller, basically. Oh,
yeah. Also, because we're talking about this awesome software right now, I had two of those, and you can synchronize them. Like if you press on sync here, it looks for different kind of controls in the same wireless network, and then synchronizes effects with them.
okay.
And yeah, these are 60 of them. I had four, so that's 240 plus the 300 on the head, plus a few more on my belt. uh, that was
And
like yeah, something like 800 LEDs
and
with
you
two
just
of these things.
chain them basically, like one connected to the end of the previous. Or
Yeah, these actually start with a connector and they end with a connector, and then you just change them and chain them, and then they are no longer 1 to 60, but 1 to 120.
okay.
which actually is kind of annoying because it makes it really hard to do something text-wise or something really representing something because you have to know your metrics and then really do some weird calculation on yeah, where to do stuff if you want a text scroller, for example.
Yeah, okay, but yeah.
So is anyone still following us on stream? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
keep.
So Zivelk is happy with the result. I think he wanted the white pixel.
It wasn't really white, I'm sorry. It was more of a bluish
Doesn't
thing.
matter. Yeah. Any questions? Any comments um, from the viewers? Any ideas? Any other hardware that you like to be connected or something? I think this could be a regular thing.
Yeah, it turned out a bit more trying things out with Steam and Pandu, but I also like it. I mean, it's like just connecting. This was exactly when I bought it, I thought like, oh man, soldering and like flashing and firmware and all this open source shit, and I actually had it running in half an hour and was like massively impressed by the result.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can't show our old studio lamp from Tim, right? We don't have a photo, but we have in our studio here in Berlin, we have a lamp from our company with our company name on it, and there's a LED strip behind it. And if someone registers on Cables GL, then it blinks actually, and we can also control it from Cables GL, but it's a completely different technology. But you can connect this to other applications and control something with it.
Yeah, to
So
rebuild this,
yeah,
I actually was one of my next projects will be to recreate this lamp for the office in Cologne, and I will absolutely use this because it's super easy to do.
yeah. So Zivilex says now get 192 stripes and make a ZX Spectrum emulator on it. Yeah.
Wait, give me like 30 seconds, Tom. You have to talk a bit. Wait a second.
What is happening? Yeah, from Mimi, I can imagine a costume, you wearing a LED costume.
So the thing that there's these, right? So
There's what?
there's
Ah, okay.
these, so they are basically panels and then different
Nice.
lines. That was my belt on Carnival. Um, but this is what I meant. If you want to do a text scroller on them, it would be really hard because these are 0 and then I don't know 255 up there, and then you have to really calculate where to put pixels of your font and then move them. But
Yeah,
these are also like super cheap.
and this is the same connector on
Same thing.
already.
I mean, you were asking about how to connect, like how to work with them, and then you can connect this, and this might be broken also, but in general, you connect this here, and then you go to your config file. You say, okay, right now I have like I don't know, more like 200 LEDs, and save it. Ah, yeah, and then there you go, and have the same effect on the 200 more LEDs.
Nice. Yeah, this is okay. Yeah, but then you just have to write one chunky to planar op that maps the pixels, and then yeah, I want to order this now. Really, I didn't know that you have a matrix like this. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And then and this is also like a few euros or
Yeah, I can look it up, but this was I don't know, below 10 euros or something like this.
okay, that's crazy.
So ZX Spectrum, I guess, has a bit more pixels, but if you stack these really really well,
Yeah,
then.
then you can have a ZX Spectrum display for like 500 euros only. No, I don't know.
Yeah, really got into this LED thing, and I was surprised how cheap available, and also with this completely ready-made open source firmware for these machines, so how super easy it is to even
Yeah.
do with something with like actually no coding at all.
Yeah, I think when we built the lamp, stuff was way more expensive and also needed more power, I'm pretty sure. I don't know why how this changed.
Yeah, the lamp. I mean, I sat there and tried to repair it, and you were having like a power supply, and that was like really big, like really lots of power, and this is like USB. I mean,
Yeah. I think we have like 200, no, I don't know. But it's not more than 255 LEDs or something. I think it's not that much, but yeah, we have to redo it because it burned.
yeah. Yeah,
But yeah,
fire hazard is okay. I carried this around in like
yeah, with 5 volts.
nothing happened.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think there are no other questions. So can you the WLED, can you also do text with it or
No,
okay.
they don't have this conversation conversion which is sad, but I kind of I mean this software they don't really know how your stuff is arranged, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, where did you order it? Did you order it from AliExpress or something or
No, most of the LED stuff I ordered from Amazon actually.
okay.
They then, I guess, I mean, some of the packets were labeled as sent from Shenzhen, but yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
all
I
of,
think there are no other questions. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that all of this stuff is like really available on Amazon and really, also the tutorials, I mean, they don't go into cables and maybe doing text with chunky to planar and doing ZX Spectrum displays, but it seems as if this Christmas lights community in the United States is more nerdy than you'd actually picture.
Yeah, I mean the really cool thing about this that you just enter URL in your browser and then you change the light. I mean, this
Yeah.
is super handy for debugging and for like trying things out, and what happens. And yeah, this is really accessible, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Did we post all the links to everything?
Yeah, but we also will do this under the YouTube
Oh yeah, okay.
video. Wir machen Bund says, awesome stuff. We'll do this with my students next September.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And you should also invite us again to your students. Great. Yeah, I will not say this out loud, what he just wrote.
Just tell me afterward.
Or sync with another IoT API heartbeat or so. Yeah, I mean, that's also cool if you, for example, show the temperature as a color or something like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you can like tint your bathroom light in red if it's a hot day or something like this.
You're giving me ideas.
Okay. Yeah, thank you all for watching. So people thank us. So
Okay.
Stefan cannot read, so I have to translate to him. Okay. Yeah, I think there are no more questions. Yeah, I will order this and I will also play around with this. And yeah, let's see. Maybe there will be another stream about this with more advanced stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. When working with this yesterday again, I got like plenty more ideas what could be better, and maybe even also giving them a WebSocket API would be a good weekend project, I guess.
Yeah, I like what is this ESP machine like? How much RAM does it have, or like what is it? How many megahertz does it have?
Ist ein
80 megahertz.
kostengünstiger. Where is it? Yeah, something like this. It's in German.
80 megahertz, I think. Yeah, and 30 kilobytes of RAM, really? Okay, it's awesome that they can already like I don't know if if you can run a WebSocket server in this. Yeah, I mean a web server is already quite impressive, right?
Yeah, but then again, I don't know. I mean, I don't know too much about protocols, but they have like DMX output. Wouldn't that be a lot heavier than shuffling some web shit back and forth?
I don't know. It's so old. It's pretty low level, I
Yeah, yeah,
guess.
okay.
But yeah. But yeah, interesting. Cool. Interesting thing. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think there are no other questions. I think that's it then, right?
Okay, then let's call it a day. Thanks for watching. I hope it was a bit interesting, gave you some new ideas on not only this awesome software that I found in LEDs in general, but also how to do stuff with cables, with external stuff, and then yeah, work with that, control it, and if you have like problems and want to do it locally, use the Playa and stuff like that. Yeah, was a bit of a round trip, but I hope it was like informational.
Okay. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Goodbye.